Today we're going to be talking about skateboard photography, the images, and how we made them. With me today, I have my good friend Josh Katz. We've been on a skateboarding trip for the last, I think this is day 7 of it. We started in LA.
But it feels like 4 months.
I know, it really has been. We started in Los Angeles, and we're now currently in San Francisco. We're headed home tomorrow, and we have been shooting a ton on this. And this is honestly the first time that I've been on a trip working so closely with another photographer, and it's actually been super awesome.
It's been fun. We've been riffing off each other, challenging each other.
Dude, he has nailed it. There's been multiple instances on this trip where, like, I'm thinking that honestly, I think I'm making a pretty good image, and he has straight up beat me, and I'm like, it's awesome. Like, I'm like, legit, like, you have made a better picture and made better decisions, and I could not be more stoked on that.
It's been a competition, I'm not going to lie, and I think we've both just riffed off each other in the best of ways, so it's been fun.
It has been awesome. But we are going to talk about 3 images that we shot on this. We're going to talk about, on this trip at least, we are going to talk about the techniques, the thought process we made it, and actually the gear that we did.
All right.
So I want you to start, actually.
Okay.
So
I'm going to start on my best foot. I've got an image of another Revive team rider named Sam Vestal, and he was doing a front board fakie on this, I guess, a handicap rail. It's a really cool spot right outside of Rite Aid, I believe, and he was doing a very, very long board slide. So this is the image. We'll pop it up on the screen. And a couple things. So first, I went with this sequence because, well, you know what? A couple things. First, I want to say I went with a very wide-angle lens. I used my Tamron 10 to 24 millimeter lens, and I'm also using a Canon 70D. So the reason why I wanted to go wide is for 2 reasons. First, just because there were cars in the way. Right to my right of me in this shot, there was a big car, and to the left, there was also a car. And I wanted to have a very, very clean composition with just the white, beautiful backdrop behind Sam. So I figured if I go wide, I could be in front of the cars and have that. If I were to go more zoom, it wouldn't have worked. So that's one of the huge appeals in having a big range of focal lengths with your lenses. And second thing, reason why I went wide is because I knew a sequence would look sick of this trick, because once I'm this wide, it's sort of hard to see how long the rail actually is, because you have a lot of crazy perspective issues. Because I think I shot this at like 12 millimeters, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Very, very wide, and you can see the building is just like, it looks wacky almost. So by shooting a sequence, you can see, okay, there's 4 frames of him on the rail. He clearly covered a lot of ground.
it's a long rail.
Yeah, and I think one image wouldn't have done it justice for that. And yeah, it's sort of just a cool, I love sequence shots where they're all wrapped up in the same image. I don't like having to like turn your head. I'm not a fan of those.
It's honestly a technique that I normally don't like as much. I'm going to be honest with you, but this looks really good. Like, this looks amazing. Like, you've actually like you're beginning to sell this technique on me, because this is like one of the first times I've actually seen it executed in a way that is enjoyable to me.
Appreciate that, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it shows a ton of action in it in a great way. I wish we could have told Sam Vestal to wear a different T-shirt when he was doing this, because he's blending slightly with the wall behind him. But the hat that he's wearing helps a lot. I like the hat with the green. It's like he has balanced his own outfit really. Absolutely. The only thing that you absolutely picked the right spot to be. Like, the second I saw you sitting there, I'm like, yep, well, there's the shot right there. That is absolutely the place to shoot this from. I wonder if you would have came around front ever so slightly to show a little bit more length to it, and you could have came in on the left-hand side and shown a little bit, slightly less of the building. I believe, yeah, just a little bit less of the building, and then you would have been able to get a little bit more roll away. But that's just something that you're not going to really notice until after he's landed the trick, because you have no idea where he's going to land, because he hadn't landed it yet.
No, absolutely. I do really wish I had more roll away. However, the 2 things I was trying to do, and I just actually remember now that I didn't do them, I really wanted the right 2 lines to align with the edges of the frame.
Gotcha.
So it was close. It didn't quite work out, and I could crop in. Honestly, I'm happy with how it turned out, so I'm not going to bother. But yeah, I do really, really like when there's some sort of leading line that hits a corner of the image, and when you can hit 2 of them or more, it's just like really, really gratifying. So I was going for that with these 2. But yeah, if I had another attempt, I agree. I think a little more roll away.
I'm so glad that the rail that's on the wall is not touching the rail that he was skating, or that would have like personally driven me crazy. They would have been like overlapping. So I don't know if that was intentional or not, but you nailed that with the leading lines.
Let's say it was subconsciously intentional.
There you go.
Another thing I want to talk about here is Shadows. So I'm gonna be honest here. There's a little bit of lying and deception in this image. So as you can see on the far right, you have 2 shadows from the last 2 frames of the trick. And then there are actually no other shadows from Sam in this image. And if you think about the sun and where it's at and look at the reflection of, or look at the shadow of the rail, you're like, wait a second. There should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more shadows in this image. Where the heck are they? I took them out. I lied. And here's the thing. It's very busy having 7 Sam Vestals in one photo. And I just thought I could add the shadows, but I'd rather just... I don't think the mind jumps to it immediately. Did you?
I didn't even realize it.
Yeah. So I could have added them in, but I just knew it would have busied the image quite a bit. So I took all those out. And another thing, if anyone's wondering, as far as technique goes, I actually have a tutorial on shooting these sequences and editing them up on my website. Basic thing here is I actually shot this handheld. A lot of people will say sequences are best done on a tripod, and it makes it a little bit easier, but not a big deal. You can shoot them handheld, no problem, and just use the auto-align feature in Photoshop, and you're pretty much golden. Another thing I want to say is my camera is an enthusiast level camera. It doesn't have the continuous shooting mode that a lot of other cameras do. I think I can shoot 7 photos per second. I'm not actually sure.
It's probably 7.
Yeah. So I was using high-speed shooting mode where I could just fire them off and have a million frames. So this is about half of the frames I had to choose from. However, because I was shooting RAW, do you mind if I get into this?
Yeah, go for it, man. Dig it.
So because I was shooting RAW, my camera can actually only handle a certain number of frames before it just stops. So I figured out that if I shot his roll-up, it would actually stop right when he's at the edge of the rail.
Gotcha.
Which is a huge issue. So if you have a camera that's doing this, it's not a crazy full frame that could shoot high speed for the rest of his life and never have a problem, and you're like me, then I actually had to... You have 2 options. So one, you could shoot JPEG, because the big thing here is processing speeds, and my camera just shot 30 megabyte photos, 8 of them or 10 of them, probably 15 or so actually. Just remember, my camera is shooting 30 megabyte photos. It just shot about 15 or 20 of them. It's huge. It's going to take a while to process. So if you shoot JPEG instead, or just another high quality image that's not RAW, then you can have more frames and let your camera shoot for longer. But I said, you know what, like, I would rather have RAW, all the editing capabilities, and then shoot a fake roll-up. So what I did is I actually started the sequence as soon as he popped. Like the second his board hit the tail, I started it so I could get the full roll away. And then I said, Sam, I'm going to hold my camera exactly right here. Congratulations on landing your trick. Go back up and do 1 roll-up really, really fast. Just jump on the rail and jump off. And that's what we did, and I just combined those 2 sequences together.
Wow, I did not know that.
So yeah, bit of a process to this, but yeah, a little bit of Photoshop, and then here we are.
One last thing. Do you know what your camera settings were? Do you know what your shutter speed was on this?
Yes, it was 1/640th of a second.
That's a good one.
Yeah, and you want to go over
I think
why?
anything over... I try. In skateboarding, the fastest shutter speed you possibly can have, the better, clearly. I like to have it over 320th of a second.
If you're shooting natural light, though.
If you're shooting natural light, the more the better. I mean, 500, 640, that'd be where I want to be. But, I mean, I shot... I think on that image, I was shooting at, like... I don't even know, like 1,000th of a second, I think is where I was, to try to get it like super, super sharp. Yeah. But again, you're not going to have a lot of motion blur, things like that on a slide. Like if you're doing like a double flip or a tray flip or something like that, that's when that's going to more come into play. But
my place to be, though, 1/800th of a second is
that's
money.
That's a pretty good spot.
1/640th is fine. 1/500th is like a little dangerous.
I think it depends on what you're shooting.
If you're shooting natural light, I'm like, yeah. I try and keep it around 640, though. It's usually a battle, though, just having enough light.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to jump into an image that I shot. This is a Trey hippie that Carlos Lastra shot in... Where were we? We were in...
San Pedro,
California. San Pedro, California.
Okay.
Carlos just went pro for our new board company. He's ridiculous. So congratulations, Carlos. You're pro for 3 block. Super hyped on this. Carlos is a madman. So he did this. I think he did his 3rd try. He actually did it 4 times. And this is the first one that he did. Not the cleanest rollaway he did because he did it 4 times, but timing on this was unbelievably hard. So the way I lit this, again, 2 lights. Wasn't quite sandwich lighting on this. The way I did my left light is is in front of him, up on the top, right there. Adding a little bit of fill on the front hand side of him because the way that with the time of the day there were some gnarly shadows on him. So I was trying to take care of the shadow on his face, but
and you did for the most
part. But what I should have done was the light is too low. The light could have been higher and it would have taken care of that. But the light is hitting his shoulder, and his shoulder is causing the shadow on his face.
But this is one of those things that's really, really hard to know.
Oh, absolutely. You have no idea.
It changes on every attempt. You never know what the body's going to be like.
Exactly.
So I would say, having seen so many professional skate photos, like, this is perfectly fine. And this is almost expected. Having a little bit of shadow action.
Absolutely.
If the whole face was in a shadow, that'd be problematic. You're good, man. You're good.
And then on the right light, I'm actually having it behind him, adding sort of a rim kind of effect to it, so you can see it kind of on his pants, basically. And he's slightly backlit, adding separation from the background because he's wearing blue pants and a blue background, so I wanted to add a little bit of separation. Also, the filmer was directly to the right of him, and I wanted to make sure that the light didn't hit the filmer, and the filmer didn't cause a shadow on the ground, because I knew the filmer was probably going to be in the shot, and I wanted to eliminate him as much as possible. As far as the way that I shot it, the way I composed it, I like to have multiple elements in the frame. So the fact that they're on the left-hand side of the frame is actually a handicap ramp that's leading down to the dock that he's on. And I left that there intentionally because I like that foreground element that's going to be really out of focus. And it just kind of adds a little bit, another dimension to the frame.
So as far as composition goes, you have all these really cool, just pointy lines, which are just kind of... They seem very random to me. Like, I'm not sure what any of these things are, but they look great. The yellow boxes right here with the blue sky is, like, really, really nicely balanced. And then also with this handicap rail, which is cool, having it slightly out of focus, works really nicely with the thing on the far right, whatever that conish pole is, as just perfectly balancing the shot. So it's a nice frame for Carlos to be in. And then, of course, his board is framed. There's a lot of great compositional stuff happening in this image.
Thank you. Something that I was struggling with, and was really hard on this, is the timing of the 3-flip, because he's doing a tray flip hippie, so the board is actually going under that chain, and he's going above the chain. And the way that you time a 3-flip is dependent on the person who does it. Some people really pop it and catch it. Some people catch them late as they're like almost landing on top of it. Like, that's
one of the hardest tricks to shoot.
They're impossible to shoot. Like, I suck at 3-flips, so I catch them super late. Carlos is a maniac, so he catches them super early. So to get the timing on a 3-flip, like a lot of times, like later in the frames, when I was shooting it, it almost looked like he was doing a kickflip, you know, because I was slightly late. But that's where he was in relationship to the chain.
Yeah.
You know?
And then the other element is also the body posture of, like...
Exactly.
There's that really nice frame usually where the guy's, like, kind of like a pseudo, like samurai kick position. And I love that point.
Absolutely.
And you got it here.
Thank you, man. Something that you actually were talking about this image for a little bit before we started filming, and I didn't like at first, but you kind of sold me on it. I was bummed that the skateboard is slightly overlapping the chain, but as Josh mentioned, it kind of adds the fact that he's going over it, you know?
Yeah, so, I mean, I think that in a perfect compositional world, nothing touches anything and everything's beautifully isolated, but this is a skateboarding photo, and the fact that, like, this trick is horrifying. He is jumping over a chain and hoping that a skateboard goes under and that everything connects. That is a lot to process.
You could fall so hard.
Ugh.
God.
Yeah. And he's landing on a shaking dock. So anyway, just the fact that you see that this is a sketchy maneuver by seeing that the board is very close to the chain, as it should be. That's a cool thing to me. I want to ask you a question, Brian. So seeing Steven right here, I personally try my best to never have the filmer in the photo.
I agree.
And I'm thinking this would be a fairly easy Photoshop job if you had taken a shot of him without it. Did you do that? Did you consider that? Would you do that, or is that lying?
It's hard. For me, I will keep the filmer in the shot. I would not combine those two photos. Am I bummed that Steven is in it? You know, I mean, in a perfect world, he's not in it, but realistically, he was, you know? And so, I mean, sometimes I would have asked Carlos, and I actually did. I asked Carlos to do this again for me after, and I didn't like the timing on it. Like I didn't time the.
Did you ask for one more?
He did it. He actually did it 3 more times for me. Like this is the first one.
Oh, I've made skateboarders do it way more than 3 times.
Oh, absolutely. So. Yeah. Well, this is like horrifying. So I'm not gonna like. I don't want to injure him. And so he did it. We were done. Stoked. This was the land, and then I was like, dude, Carlos, Steven, I can get Steven to film this long lens. Can you try to do this 3 more times? Do it again for me. Yeah. He did it 3. He did it and landed it 3 times. His style wasn't perfect, and so this is a better frame. The filmer's in it. That's what just happened.
See, my personal style, I would have taken a shot with Steven backing out, not made him redo it if I knew I had this nice frame, and just quick, easy Photoshop. Okay, so we've been riffing for a while.
We have.
Do you want one more of my images, or do you want to leave it at this?
I mean, we've probably been filming for a while, so maybe we can just leave it at the 2.
All right.
Anyways, super excited and thankful to have Josh Katz on this critique with me. It's been amazing. Pleasure. If you want to see part 1 of this, you need to go over to his channel. I'm going to put a little card up here so you can see it. Part 1 of this is on his.
And you can see these are the 3 photos we're going to talk about on my channel.
Absolutely. And again, link to his bio, or his channel is in my bio. And as always, I appreciate your likes, your comments, and I will see you guys on the next.
Hey, this is Brian Ambs. Please click the subscribe button that you see right there, and you'll subscribe to my videos. From now on, I'm going to be eating a lot of peppers. It's going to, oh man, it's going to be great. Bye.